You know, he was really good. I mean, when you look at 10 assists, I think, how many 2 turnovers, and he was really good. I thought he saw the floor well. I thought he was really smooth in terms of when the inside-out passes came to him. And obviously it's good when you see guys that you know that you need to see them making shots, but I thought his command of what he knew we wanted to do was maybe as good as it's ever been, because he, you know, we had to be good to execute with the way they play and what they make you do, and for him to do what he does on the defensive end and then play the kind of floor game he played on the offensive end is pretty impressive.
What was it like getting Josiah back, and kind of what was the process? Was it kind of wanting to get into a place where you wouldn't have to miss time again before bringing him back this time?
Well, again, we knew tonight we were going to limit him to a certain amount of minutes, wanted to keep him under 20, 18, somewhere around there, somewhere in between 15 and 20 really, but didn't want him. What we didn't want was him to be on the floor for long runs, you know, 6, 7 minutes at a time. But he's worked hard. It's been a trying time for him, but he's handled it the way you would expect him to. And Chad and Garrett and doing their part with our medical team, and you know, I know that we've tried to help him get the very best medical attention he can get. But he's had to work hard. It's when you have done what he's done since he's been here and have to go through this and. But you could tell he's been different. I mean, when he came back even early in the year when he played, I think, against Colorado, we knew in practice he wasn't the same guy. But the last couple of days since he's been in practice, he's the Josiah that we know he can be, and he affects the game. I mean, he and Santi really have a cohesive enough about them when they're on the court together. They see things that makes it easier for everybody, and. The thing that we'll have to keep working with him is this cardio. You know, I mean, it'll be more difficult than people might think, because we won't try to expect him to go through a full practice yet, and we'll monitor him through practice throughout, because a lot of basketball left, and we want him to be at his best once we get deeper into the season.
Has he been able to go multiple days in a row without feeling the discomfort? And if so, has that happened?
The last couple. He feels great. He feels great. But the last couple of days, he's just moving the way that we know he can move. But again, he's a player that I've talked about. You know, really good players affect the game even when they're not making shots. And we know he can shoot. You know, I mean, he really can. And that's the one thing. I think him being out, he's continued to be able to do that. But it's his hands. You know, he's got elite hands. He gets his hands on so many different balls that he just breaks them loose. And defensively, you know, can guard any spot on the floor when he needs to. And it's just, again, getting him back. And as much as I like to have him out there, as much as he's always been, we've got to be smart with it.
Ryan, Brant, and Ben. After struggling shooting early in the season, Sonny's now had 3 straight games where he shot really well. Just how much confidence did you have that you would get back to this form, and how important is it for you all to do this?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and trying to talk to the team, you know, every game's a different game. And I asked the other night, you know, why we maybe haven't been as consistent on the offensive end, and I'm not sure players understand that. I mean, every game's different. I mean, this game was a totally different game in terms of, you know, Ole Miss changed defenses, but you know, they don't have as many defenses as we saw tonight. And so players have to be able to do that. And that's the one thing I will tell you, we as a staff were really pleased with the fact that our guys handled what we worked on. And we've had to learn how to play against teams that switch 1 through 5, 1 through 4, because those teams are really trying to keep you out of rhythm. And I thought our guys really did a lot of good things. And maybe with the exception of one or two shots that were rushed. I mean, I think Santi got one block that I mean, he's got to know people are going to come at him, and he's good at what he does, obviously. But again, when you have guys like, again, Josiah's big in games like this because he's been around, he sees it. And but our guards, I mean, Julian made a couple terrific passes to our post guys. They were doing a good job, you know, stepping in on those switches, catching the ball, some really good passes delivered there, and they finished shots in there tonight, which is obviously is as important as these guys making perimeter shots. But Santi, like Joe and Zakai, you know, Jemai, I do think Julian's getting there, and I do think guys that can impact a game, whether they're scoring or not, they find a way to help you win, and Santi does that every night.
I was going to ask specifically about Julian. I think he was 6 of 25 in the last 3 or 4 games coming into tonight. How important for a freshman is it to see the ball go in the basket? I think it was 5 of 6 tonight. How big is that for a young player?
You know, I think it's important, obviously, because he can shoot the ball, but I think the biggest thing is, and I told him after the Ole Miss game, you know, I don't want to be we don't want to have a team where, you know, sometimes you got to play offense, defense, but if I were a player, I wouldn't like that. And, you know, in the Ole Miss game, he gave up a big duck in at a critical time, and we had to keep Jemai in the game there. And since then, he has had some great practices where he is really locked in, and you can see that he's putting the kind of effort that he's going to need to on the defensive end. But tonight, again, a player that you would put into that category, even if he doesn't make shots, if he does what he does tonight, he'll impact games because he was rebounding, did a great job getting to the glass. And he can shoot it. I think the fact that the three finally went in helped him with it. But he can score at all levels. But being a young player that he is, most young guys and most players until they reach a maturity standpoint, everything's offense. And if they're not shooting the ball, they kind of let the other parts of the game get away from them. And you start putting all your thoughts on, I got to score, it normally doesn't turn out well. And if you'll get lost defensively, like I thought he has the last couple of days, and so I'm not surprised that he was much smoother on the offensive end tonight.
I imagine you all emphasized post play with Tolu coming in. Just what you see from your group as a whole tonight to limit them and win the rebounding battle and points.
Well, we knew we've got a committee that we think we can do it. Now, you got to give him a lot of credit. He gets deep post up, and we allowed him to catch it from the top. We can't allow the ball to come in from the top the way we did, and they do a really good job of knowing what they want to do with the ball, and they worked it. He works hard in there. I mean, he's very difficult to guard, but overall, you know, we had to go start doubling a little bit, and that we needed to because he was starting to get done down there what he normally gets done.
Finish up in the West.
Rick, I think nobody scored more than 14 tonight, 28 assists on 36 buckets. I mean, is that, you talk about that sort of team offense, is that sort of how you draw that up?
Well, I know, you know, when you think about offense, and again, I do think we got guys that can shoot the ball. It's not always, I mean, I've seen great players go through shooting slumps and things like that. And like I said, you know, we start getting everybody back together. I do think we'll get in a rhythm. And I think if we can get the minutes down, because, you know, you got guys that play as hard as some of our guys have played defensively, and they're getting up around the 30, 32, 33 minute. It's hard to be a good offensive player because the one thing that I will say about our guys, especially our perimeter players, they haven't taken many nights off on defense. I mean, they are working their tails off to do that for us because, you know, that's where we started it, and we want to be a terrific defensive team. But then those guys, when our post guys aren't getting much done inside and you have to start playing through the guards, puts a lot of pressure on them, especially to continue to play defense the way they have to, and then wanting them to make some shots. But we've got guys, and if we move the ball like we did tonight and get our feet set and just take care of the basketball, we'll find a way.
Coach, thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.